G'day everyone, it is Jai, that Aussie metal guy here with Crank today, tonight, wherever you are in the world. It's a great pleasure that I'm catching up with one of the driving creative forces of modern metal, René from the mighty Equilibrium. For over 2 decades, René has steered this band through evolution after evolution, from the epic folk metal anthems of Tourist Fatir to the cinematic depths of Armageddon and Renegades. Now in 2025, Equilibrium are back and stronger than ever with Equinox, which is due to drop November 28th via Nuclear Blast. It's an absolutely amazing album that feels like both a rebirth and a return to the band's essence, blending light, dark, chaos, and harmony, myth, and modern emotion. Renee, thank you so much for joining me, my friend.
Hi, Jai, and thanks for this epic introduction. I'm a bit blushed now, but yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Absolute bloody pleasure, mate. Equilibrium has always had an amazing sound, and you guys are always evolving and pushing that sound as well. You've always been a band that has been defined by your artistic balance between those traditional folk elements, but also modern metal, extremes as well, balancing that as well. How does Equinox represent the most evolved expression of that duality that you've been pursuing since 2001?
Yeah, exactly. And this was also basically the big challenge on this album because last album Renegades is like 6 years ago, and some things happened since then, and we wanted to, of course, start a new chapter with continuing the way that we did on the last albums, like going more also into the modern direction that we chose after plenty years. But at the same time, we also wanted to look a little bit back. Okay, what are actually the main ingredients of equilibrium? What is actually equilibrium? Because for me, it's like I'm so interested in all kind of music and genres, and I can just do like enjoy doing so many things. But I know, of course, at some point, also as a creative, you have to set some balances for yourself because, like, if you're like everything, then you're nothing somehow, right? So you have to find your ingredients, and that's what we did a little bit. Okay, what do we want to use? Like, where, how do we want to define us in the future? And so that's where we went on the road to go into the future, but at the same time to look back. Okay, what actually have we done? What is equilibrium actually like? What did we do there? And then to connect a little bit back to what we did, as you said, like taking our folk influences, our ancient sound influences, and to combine them with the modern sounds, with the synthesizers, with the guitars and drums and metal stuff. Yeah, and to find this kind of balance, that's always a very interesting process for ourselves because we don't, we are using folk influences, but we are not trying to replicate or to be authentic Irish folk or Native American Indian folk. It's like we are having these impulses that coming from the world, but then we are putting them in our melting pot and to see what comes out of it to create something new. So yeah, that's always a very interesting part and process. But now with Equinox, I'm really happy with the result now because I see we continued with the modern, but we also took our old some of our roots and yeah, again like making something new again.
Exactly. It had so many different influences in there, as I did touch on those folk elements with the modern metal. We'll touch on that a little bit more as well. But I did notice something interesting, and it kind of feels like this as well. Everyone is always growing, there's always an evolution. Equinox, I love the sound of the name. It also fits really good for you guys as well with this album and what you've been through. I did read that it's kind of an album that kind of help you find your voice as a band again, especially with, the lineup changes. You got Jessica. I think this is the second album. She's firmly entrenched in the writing process as well as a creative force on the band as well. So tell me a little bit about that, finding your voice as a band again, the lineup changes and everything you guys have been through musically and emotionally in this time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's the first album with our new singer Fabian also,
Yep.
and I mean that's also like this process took some time by itself also because like when we found Fabian, I think it was in 23, and I thought, okay, let's just dive into it, let's make the album, but it didn't went that quick. It at first we need to to get together. Of course, I knew okay, he's a great vocalist, he's a great guy, but like, okay, how does this fit now with Equilibrium? So, I mean, we did a few songs, we did some singles that we also released, and this was part basically of the process, and that's also kind of documenting the way that we did until now Equinox. We did need to use some time to see, okay, how does he sound? How does he perform? How does he feel about the music? What does he wants to bring into the music? So we didn't want to rush it, and that's also why the album at the end took a little bit more time. And yeah, and also for me, as someone, especially during the first albums, I was always like a control freak, doing as much as possible by myself. But that's at some point that's not good. At some point, it's nice to have people who can connect with the project, with the music, and who can contribute. And that's what we did a lot, or also what I did a lot on Equinox. Like we are working a lot we are working a lot with other guest musicians, and also like as you mentioned, Jessica, she was behind the band since many years already, like doing artworks and creative stuff. But on this album, she also actually wrote two songs, and she also helped me with the songwriting, and also like yeah, like with the cover design and all these things. So she was a very essential part of this album, and for me it was also just beautiful to open up, to let other people be part of the project, and to enjoy it together. And that's so much more enjoyable for me than just doing everything alone. So yeah, that's also a very different dif different procedure, how we approach this album compared to previous albums.
Yeah, exactly. And Borrowed Waters, as you're kind of mentioning as well, one of the tracks there, it does feature on it as well. Those vocals are just absolutely amazing. It must have been good to kind of sit back a little bit and let someone else kind of take those reins a little bit with the creative process, as hard as it is emotionally, and for such a creative person as well, for you to sit back and let them take the reins. But then you
Yeah.
see that collaboration. That's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's just, I think if you find the right persons, and if you have this like kind of similar vibe, then it makes so much sense. Like also as Runit, like as you mentioned, like when we were thinking about, okay, who could sing this song actually, and then we got in contact with her, and she was like immediately, I would love to. She also told us like when she started like in her teenage years or 20 years. 20s, she was totally into metal also. She would listen plenty of metal music. Then her own direction went to some kind of different style, but still, like she has, something that is always an essence for Equilibrium, like having this connection to nature, and she has this a lot, and it just made so much sense. Like when she made this music video that she did in her own space where she lives, actually, we just thought, okay, that fits perfectly. She understood the vibe, she understood the idea of it, and it was just a really great match. And when something like this happens, it's beautiful. It's just so worth, to overcome your control freak fears and just let other people be part of it.
Yeah, in the track it does evoke those Sylvain kind of video elements as well in that film clip as well, and it kind of has that link between an ancient language of belonging to something greater than ourselves as well, and the film clip just fits in so bloody well. And the album from the very start, you were talking about having these folk metal influences, but there were all these different kind of influences. Like it is really a really great listen. Like start with Earth Tongue, it just has this really positive, uplifting feel to it. You listen to the lyrics and you take that in, then you jump into Awakening, Legends, and kind of feel like little bits of like Middle Eastern sounds here and there as well to tracks like that, and maybe even I'll Be Thunder as well. Tell me a little bit about that as well, bringing in all those different influences because I kind of did pick it up here and there as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing what I also meant before. Like we're having influences from basically from all around the world. And
Yep.
for me it's sometimes it's like, for example, when I see, okay, I know, okay, this influence is like maybe Middle East, or this influence is maybe from South America or Latin America. Then I dive a little bit into this. I want to see, okay, what are these instruments? What is behind these instruments? Where are they coming from? To get a little bit of feeling of it. But then I have like the informations that I want, and I go to this, with respect, with the absolute most respect. But then we go back to ourselves, and then okay, now I have all the musical influences, impulses, and then let's just create something. Not as I said before, not to be intentionally like representing some specific culture. It's like okay, no, that's like it's some kind of uh like a wanderer that just walks around the world and gets impulses from everywhere, and then we just okay, now let's create something new because in general, like all our music is it's like it's inspired by nature, it's inspired by cultures, and for me it's also just like kind of symbolism, like that these things can blend perfectly together, and that it can be a very nice harmony together also, and yeah, and that's why you that's why you can also hear plenty of different influence. It's so interesting, like also as you mentioned, like it can come from everywhere, and
Yeah.
that's that's sometimes for myself it's interesting. Okay, like especially when I listen to older albums, like what have we done there? Where did this come from actually? What was the idea? Because sometimes you cannot remember anymore, and it's interesting. Yeah, I think it's nice if you just open for the universe, open to what comes to you, and then you just channel it through yourself, and then yeah, there you go. That's also why for example, I'm not a fan of like I mean, even though of course we are creating the music, but it's not like would not say like, yeah, like I've created this or like that's mine. It's like it comes from somewhere, we channel it, and then it's the result. So yeah.
Yeah, it definitely does, and those subtle little nuances as you're mentioning, and some of those key synth-driven bits, man, when they kick in, like you just can't help but start bouncing around. But then, like you jump into like Bloodwood, it kind of has that bold step for Equilibrium as well that does kind of harken back to those folk metal roots, while
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
jumping into that real melodic death and modern influence as well.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's right. And sometimes it's, like when it comes to write a song, sometimes a song can take weeks or maybe even months, like to get to the final result. And sometimes there are songs that are so quick. For example, like I'll Be Thunder is one of those songs that I think I've written in like 1 week. And I didn't think too much about it. I was like, okay, like like, okay, what is this melody? I like it. Should we use vocals? No, let's just make this na 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 thing and then just put it there. It was not. It was a very impulsive, improvised song. Somehow that didn't had too much change anymore. And I think that it's nice to also have these kind of songs that are very quick, impulsive, and they are just there. It's a momentum created within 1 week, and there you go. And yeah, and some of the songs like Bloodwood, for example,
Yep.
uh, was written like over. I mean, not constantly, of course, but it grew over a few months actually to get to the result where it's now. So yeah, it's always an interesting process also for ourselves to create a song because every song has a different story how it will be created.
Yeah, it does, and I'll be Thunder. I love the use, like you guys are definitely going towards more of the handcrafted costumes and making a real conscious decision to kind of not, where other bands are leaning into the AI side of things and letting
Yeah.
that, because it is easier to understand. But for you guys, this is a real conscious decision to even with the video, the handcrafted costumes down to, the art design, everything you guys are using with this as well.
Yeah, that's right. And for us, that was also important, important. And especially since you mentioned AI, like, I mean, of course, like I'm happy that we have this technology because it really helps in some parts of your life, and I'm also using it. But when it comes to art,
Yes.
to use AI as a as a as a as a as a tool to create the full art, I don't like it. It's for me, it's fine to use it for some tiny parts or maybe like whatever, like yeah, basically as a tool. But if you use it like to fully generate a video or fully generate music or artwork, I don't really like it at all because there's nothing human anymore inside of that. It's just stealing other humans' art and processing it, and I don't want this. So that's why we also, at least for me, I got actually inspired by this because I thought, okay, well, back then we used, it's also technology. We used synthesizers, we used samples, like orchestral samples. Of course, that's also some kind of technology, but still, it's more like handmade music still, in my opinion. But I thought, okay, let's go even further like this direction. Let's just actually not use only flute on keyboard or synthesizer. Let's record real flutes. Let's record some real percussion or string instruments. And the same also for the artwork. Like let's use real paint and brushes, and also the music video, as you mentioned, like that's also basically I'll Be Thunder is a creation also by Jessie, like the costumes, the props, the set design, like all this comes from her brain, and to kind of represent the music in a visual way. And of course, it doesn't has like this super fancy special effects AI generated, but for me, it's true handmade art. And it's like you can take it in your hand. Like all the props there are still in our cellar. You can just take them and grab them. And the same for their artwork. And I think that's just nice to have something real.
Yeah, there's just something about that real artwork, and I've seen artists using over the last, just to mention the last few months, bands like Conjurer getting real artists and yourself to create the artwork. I think as us, even in media and musicians, we kind of need to make a stand on AI. It's hard enough for musicians as well, and go, look, this is impacting our society. It's gonna creep in. We
Yeah,
we can't fight against it, but
yeah,
as a scene in general, we all need to take a stand and go, well, we need to fucking have something in place to stop these encroaching on the art. I believe the music,
yeah.
so the artwork as well. There definitely needs to be something in place, and artists like yourself and me and everybody, I think, in this scene kind of needs to speak up a little bit and take a stand and go, you know what? It's easy to fucking do AI, but it doesn't have the heart and soul, that's for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And fortunately, like at least now like when it comes to concert, you cannot, I guess, mimic them with AI yet.
They tried, it
So
didn't work.
yeah, so that's still a thing. But yeah, I mean it is there and it will stay there and it will be even more developed. Maybe at some point it will be in a way that it where I also can appreciate it and say, yeah, okay, this is now a way how I can use it and still feel like an artist, not stealing other stuff. I mean, I feel it's still so in the beginning, and people are experimenting and doing stuff. But when I see sometimes, there are sometimes like these bands that are somehow just hyped and everywhere, and then it comes out, oh, by the way, this is fully AI generated.
Yeah,
This makes me sad, to be honest. So yeah.
I had this. I seen this the other day. Someone was sharing it. And I'm like, this is all AI, and I just can't do it anyway. Go buy the fucking music. Equilibrium's Equinox. It does drop November 28th. This year has absolutely been amazing for music. This album is one of my fucking favorites, man. It's an absolute ripper.
Uh,
Really enjoying the heck out of it. Everybody, you need to go chuck in your pre-orders now. Grab that November 28th. Renee, last word, shout outs, thank yous are all on you, my friend.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. And I have to say, like, we've never made it to Australia yet, but it's definitely on our to-do list. I don't know if it will be like 26 or 27, but we will come at some point. And yeah, of course, we hope to see you there. And thanks to everybody who listens to our music, even after this long break that we had.
Damn straight. Grab some Equilibrium, chuck it in the stereos. The neighbors are going to want to hear it too. Cheers, mate.